There are airplanes, and then there's the Boeing 747, the one aircraft that changed the world forever. It didn't just fly across continents. It connected humanity itself. A giant with 4 roaring engines, a graceful hump, and a spirit that redefined what flying meant. Before it arrived, air travel was a luxury reserved for the elite. But when the 747 came along, it made the impossible possible. It made the world smaller, brought distant families closer, and gave millions of people their first chance to see the skies. It wasn't just another jetliner, it was a revolution on wings. The story of the 747 begins in the 1960s, when the skies were ruled by smaller jets like the Boeing 707 and the Douglas DC-8. Tickets were expensive, airports were crowded, and only a few could afford to fly. But Boeing's lead engineer Joe Sutter had a vision: to build a jet twice as big as anything that existed, one that could carry hundreds of passengers across oceans. Around the same time, Pan Am's legendary founder Juan Trippe shared that same dream. He wanted to bring air travel to everyone, not just the rich. So, Boeing and Pan Am teamed up to take on what many thought was an impossible challenge: to create the world's first true jumbo jet. To build something this massive, Boeing had to construct a brand new factory in Everett, Washington, the largest building ever built by humans. Inside that gigantic space, thousands of engineers and workers came together to design and build the 747. It had a wingspan longer than most runways, 4 powerful Pratt & Whitney JT9D engines, and a distinctive hump on its upper deck, a design that would make it one of the most recognizable shapes in aviation history. The hump wasn't just for looks. Boeing designed the 747 so it could be converted into a freighter later, which meant the cockpit had to be placed above the main deck, leaving the nose free to open like a cargo door. What started as a practical solution became an icon of design. But creating the 747 wasn't easy. Boeing faced massive challenges. The engines were new and unreliable. The weight of the aircraft pushed materials to their limits. Delays mounted, and costs soared. Many believed the project would destroy Boeing completely. But Joe Sutter and his team refused to give up. They worked day and night, testing, redesigning, and perfecting every detail. And then, on February 9, 1969, after years of hard work, the world witnessed something truly magical: the first flight of the Boeing 747. As it lifted off from Payne Field for the very first time, the world gasped. This wasn't just another test flight, it was history taking off. A year later, on January 22, 1970, Pan Am launched the first commercial Boeing 747 flight, Flight 2 from New York to London. That moment changed aviation forever. For the first time, over 400 passengers could travel across the Atlantic in a single flight. Tickets became cheaper, airlines saw record profits, and people who once only dreamed of flying could finally see the world. Families reunited, students studied abroad, businesses expanded globally, all because one aircraft made long-distance travel affordable and efficient. The Queen of the Skies had officially taken her throne. Over the years, the 747 became a symbol of ambition and wonder. It carried popes, presidents, and prime ministers, including serving as Air Force One for the United States. It transported astronauts on the space shuttle atop its back, carried humanitarian aid into disaster zones, and connected cities that had never been linked before. Every takeoff of a 747 was a statement, a roar of human progress. For millions of passengers, it was their first flight, their honeymoon, their reunion, their new beginning. The 747 wasn't just a machine, it was a vessel of human emotion. As time passed, Boeing continued to evolve the 747. The original 747-100 was followed by the 747-200 with longer range and stronger engines. Then came the 747 SP, a special shorter version designed for ultra-long flights like New York to Tehran or Los Angeles to Sydney. In the late 1980s, the 747-400 arrived, with its elegant winglets, glass cockpit, and unmatched range. This model became the most successful and beloved variant ever built, serving airlines like British Airways, Qantas, and Singapore Airlines for decades. Even in the 21st century, Boeing pushed boundaries again with the 747-8, the longest commercial aircraft ever made, combining the classic shape with modern technology and efficiency. For pilots, the 747 was more than just an aircraft, it was a partner. They called it smooth, stable, and majestic. Flying the 747 felt like commanding an ocean liner through the clouds. For cabin crews, it was home, a place where they spent their lives, serving millions of travelers. For passengers, it was magic, the curved ceiling, the spiral staircase, the calm hum of 4 engines carrying them across oceans. The 747 gave flying its romance, its soul, its identity. Even hearing the sound of those engines on takeoff brought a chill to anyone who loved aviation. But every queen's reign must come to an end. In the 2000s, the aviation world began to change. New twin-engine aircraft like the Boeing 777 and 787 and the Airbus A350 became more fuel-efficient and cost-effective. Airlines started retiring their 747 fleets, replacing them with smaller, more efficient jets. Slowly, one by one, the Queen of the Skies began to disappear from major airports. In 2023, Boeing rolled out its final 747, a freighter for Atlas Air, marking the end of more than 50 years of production. On that day, Boeing employees, aviation enthusiasts, and pilots around the world gathered to watch her final farewell. It wasn't just the end of a production line, it was the closing chapter of an era that defined aviation. Even though the 747 no longer dominates the skies as she once did, her legacy is eternal. She carried billions of passengers safely across the world, connected cultures, changed economies, and turned aviation into what it is today. Every modern jet owes something to her. She proved that humanity could dream big and actually make it fly. Even today, seeing a 747 on the runway feels like witnessing history alive, powerful, graceful, and timeless. She remains the Queen of the Skies, the airplane that made the world smaller and our dreams larger. The Boeing 747 isn't just a story of engineering. It's a story of people, of visionaries who refused to listen to limits, of workers who believed in something greater, and of passengers who looked out of those wide windows and realized how vast and beautiful our world truly is. The 747 May 7th have retired, but her spirit continues to soar, in every flight, every dream, and every sky she once ruled. This is the story of the Boeing 747, the Queen of the Skies that changed the world. And in this channel we bring you the legends that shaped the skies. If the 747 inspired you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. And tell us in the comments, which aircraft should we cover next in our series, Airliners That Changed the World.